Welcome back to another episode of Unscripted, the go-to podcast for those flipping the script and taking the unexpected path. I'm your host, Jessica Bergio, holistic life and business coach, author, speaker, and self-proclaimed high-energy hype girl. Each week, I'm bringing you inside. No gatekeeping here. I'll touch on proven holistic business strategies, powerful mindset shifts that have led my clients through massive transformations, and no BS conversation with industry leaders designed to help you get out of your own way to actively pursue a life of purpose. If you're ready to ditch the limitations at the door, hit follow and get ready to be activated to step boldly towards your big goals. Now let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of Unscripted. I'm so excited you're here. Today's episode, what I wish I knew before joining a mastermind. Yeah, it's about time I made one of these episodes. I was sitting down trying to think of what season of life you might be in right now and where you might currently be feeling stuck, frustrated, alone, confused. Many of those feelings come through whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're an employee at any given time in your life. But sometimes when they are just not, quote unquote, going away, you start to wonder, like, what is off? Is things not aligning for me right now? And I remember specifically when I first was introduced to somebody else hosting a mastermind. I didn't quite know what they were. This is probably like early 2018. And I think it was either Lori or Chris. I talk about them all the time because they are my mentors and my expanders and who I learned from, whose mastermind I joined many years ago and who brought me into their world to help coach and teach after I'd gone through their program. So there I was, a pretty successful, probably at the time I'd been in the business 18 years in the beauty industry, hair and makeup. I traveled. I've gotten to do so many amazing things with my career. Countless amounts of weddings, traveling, working for private, very wealthy clients all over the world, just getting to do really cool stuff, magazine covers. So I had checked a lot of the boxes that I felt were going to make me feel like it had been a successful career. And I remember Kai was around 8 or 9 years old thinking, life's really good right now. Would this be it? Would I be okay if this was it? And it started to make me question, what else are people doing to bring in money? How else could I leverage what I know, who I know, and what I'm potentially good at in a different arena? And so I knew that I had to get in rooms where I could see what else was possible. I didn't know at the time, right? Because the online space, it wasn't new, but by all means, like you can literally create any business you want online. And so where was I going to figure out how to fit in all of my expertise from the salon world, beauty industry, coaching and leading people over there into something that could be online? Was I going to teach hair? Was I going to teach the foundations of business in the beauty industry? Was I going to help stylists hit 6 figures? I didn't know. I just knew that I needed to get around other people who could help me figure it out. And so that's all I knew at the time. And so if I was to look back, I wanted to create this episode, what I wish I knew before joining a mastermind, because I think I could have seen so much more potential and I would have taken advantage of more opportunities during that time that I was together with the group. And I could have even seen myself staying with that current group and committed for multiple rounds only because of what I watched happen for other people that were in my round continue on and how quickly they were able to grow their business because they stayed connected to the group, because they stayed connected to the founders of the mastermind. The amount of investment that those people were doing was they were getting to go along for that ride with them as well. So a couple of things that I just jotted down was I knew first things first. There's a lot of people who are on the fence. Do I need to join a mastermind? Do I need to have a coach or should I join a program? Do I need to learn a new skill set? First, you got to ask yourself, is where you're currently at where you want to be? If you're good, you probably don't need to be in a mastermind. You might need a coach in some arena of your life if you want to go deeper with your spiritual journey, if you want to get more awareness around how to potentially do what you're doing a little bit better. I think a coach is a really good situation for that. But if you ultimately want change, if you are waking up every day and you're like, I no longer want to be where I'm at. I'm not quite sure maybe where I want to go, but I know where I'm at's just not it. That's the first place and the first question I'd ask myself. And the second thing for me was curiosity. I was getting really curious because I had done what I'd done for so many years. I was like, how is everyone else running their business? I wanted to see inside of those rooms. I wanted to be a fly on the wall enough that I was willing to potentially pay to be in those rooms to see what are those people talking about. The next thing was I wanted to get around other people who were potentially in the same season of life as me so that when I said things like, I maybe don't want to be a hairdresser for the rest of my life, my other hairdresser friends were like, oh my God, you're crazy. Why would you ever consider throwing your business in the trash? You've worked so hard to build this multi-6-figure book of business. How could you even think about letting go of your clients? Everybody will be so disappointed if you leave your clientele. Honestly, I've said this so many times and over the many episodes is if I hadn't changed, nobody in my life would have been mad about it. In fact, everybody in my life was actually quite disappointed, maybe even mad when I started to slow down on the hair front, when I decided to sell my salon eventually, when I cute quit a few months into this journey and took a few months away from the hair business and really focused on my podcast, focused on my coaching business. And ultimately, I knew like I had to get around people where this was normal conversation. What season were they in? What questions were they curious about? Because often we think we have an idea of what we need help with or what questions to ask. But I cannot tell you how many times I've been sitting on one of the coaching calls during one of the rounds and I heard somebody else ask a question. I'm like, oh my God, what a great question. I might not need that right now in this very second, but I'm going to need that down the road. I'm so glad they asked that question because it actually helped me ask another better question. And it was actually other people's curiosity and other people's perspectives and the questions they were asking me that got me really excited about the potential of where I could go. Like, I can't wait to be able to ask that question. I can't wait to have that problem in my business. I can't wait to face that challenge. And so as I've grown the business, looking back at all those conversations and getting to hear inside those questions and other people's thought process, I was much better prepared for all of the things that have happened along the journey of me growing this online business and really slowly walking away from my hair career. It's helped me in ways that like, even on a day-to-day basis, that's why I journal. That's why I have a gratitude practice. That's why we started FYF, was to celebrate wins, celebrate the little things. And often we don't even recognize why we know something, but it was probably because you heard it. And I know that so many really important conversations, vulnerable conversations that people had have helped me 100x my mindset, my vision, my acceptance, my awareness to everything that could go on, what's going on, and how things might very well play out, good or bad. And all of that to say, being around other people who you don't have to explain your big dreams and goals to, you don't have to explain where your head's at around things, that just get it. And it's permission and a safe space to ask those questions or to share challenges that have come up. The next thing was, I didn't know how to just show up being me, thinking that people would understand how to help me figure out the next thing. That was the thing Chris Harder kind of said to me when I was curious about jumping in the mastermind. I was like, I'm not really clear on what my business is going to be. I have a multi-six-figure business over here, but I don't know how to parlay that into something that could help more people and be scalable at one point. And so I didn't know how just showing up as me was going to be the thing that people could see me for what my strengths were, right? No nonsense, Jess. But they could see that how my journey could potentially create a coaching business for me. You've helped so many people. You've done so many things. You're consistent. You're confident. You're this, that. They were a mirror for me. And in doing that, it helped me so much to recognize my own greatness, to recognize the strengths that I did have, that I took for granted, that I didn't think were anything special because it was just who I was. I didn't know. I didn't have people who would potentially be my peers / mentors within that group that could help really feed my confidence to know that, listen, Jess, you were successful over here. There's no reason you can't be successful over there. So they really pushed me to lean into my strengths and my geniuses and to discover tools like human design and the Enneagram and to really learn about the power of regulating our nervous systems to be able to tap back and tune into what is it that we really desire versus chasing goals and dreams that potentially aren't even ours. And the last one I want to leave you with is I would have never realized or learned how much I love problem solving. Like, I think of problem solving like in math. Remember, there's always that harder 2 questions at the bottom of the math worksheet. I only know this because I have a kid now. And they're always problem solving questions. And they'd ask you some trick question in a backwards way that you'd have to like figure out what they're asking, let alone then figure out the question. And I think I ended up loving those because A, you had to get them done, right? In order to pass the class or the test. But B, problem solving for me was something I got really good at behind the chair. There were so many problems that got thrown at me. People had problems with their hair, problems with their scalp, problems with their emotions. So they wanted to do crazy things to their hair, problems with the way I did or didn't serve them, problems inside the salon with different things that would go on, problems with my bosses, problems with navigating entrepreneurship, problems with learning how to budget, problems with making more money. Like, I literally spent 20 years problem solving. And I would have never computed that as something I could help other people navigate. And I really do love problem solving. I love helping people figure out like how to go from A to B and then from A to Z. Let's create a plan. Let's reverse engineer that plan. I literally get so excited when people come to me with what they think is like their problem and what they need help with. And I'm like, cool. What's the goal? That might actually not even be a problem. But how do we take what seems like a problem and help you get into action so that you start to feel a little more clear? And then you build the confidence because you're taking the steps, you're making moves. And then we just double down on the things that are like actually producing. Wow, those two things helped. Okay, what if we did that 3 more times? What if we did it 5 more times? What if we didn't quit? And I've learned so much with launching this podcast agency and also having my own podcast. Trust me when I tell you, it's been a challenge to get me to almost 300 episodes. This hasn't been easy. Being consistent to sit down and share your thoughts in a vulnerable way that makes sense that could possibly help somebody else. If that's what a podcast should be, or strictly entertaining, if you will. I think I'm a little entertaining and a little bit like value packed and a little bit, holy shit, did she just say that? I like to hit a few nails on the head, but you can only find your unique ability and your unique voice by using it, by putting the reps in, by getting in the rooms. And so a lot of people who were in that very first round of Fast Foundations with me, I think there was over 45 of us. I would say more than half of them re-upped for a second round because they had gotten the clarity in the first round. And now it was time to take more action. And they really wanted to be surrounded by peers who were actually in that same phase as them too, like second launch. First one maybe failed or didn't do as well as they wanted it to, or first launch did well because they had a more market, but then the second launch, they couldn't recreate it because they never created SOPs and they didn't really track data. So they have no idea what they really did to get there. And now they're trying to do it again, but they don't know. Or maybe things are working, but they're one person and they literally can't do everything on their own. So they find people in their network, maybe even in that mastermind, who could help support them. An OBM, a COO, a CFO, your next VA, someone to help you with social media, someone to help you with content, branding, photography. That's where these rooms are so powerful. And so I'm watching that in real time right now with my current mastermind, Unscripted. These few women, there's 7 of them right now, and they are just really supporting one another, having wins and being able to share that inside our group chat that we have, and really just diving in fully to figuring out how they've gotten in their own way in the past and making sure that they're prepared for that behavior to happen again, because we're human. We're creatures of habit. And so if you know that you always get to about step 8, but you don't quite get to step 9 and 10 to complete the thing, that's when you step in and you ask for help. You ask for support. You ask for that accountability. And that's why having calls every week or every other week allows for you to have a place to share, hey, this is what my challenges were, or hey, this is what I did really good this week, right? That humble brag where we don't even use the word humble. We just brag on the things that we know we did well, and we talk about the things that didn't work. And we figure out a plan and we create next steps. It's that simple. It's not so much about failure or winning, but it's about how did you move the needle? Are you happy with what you've put out? Are you feeling good about your level of, commitment to whatever it is you said you wanted? Those are the cool things that we talk about inside the mastermind. And that's why a lot of times it's really hard to create sales pages specifically for masterminds, and why a different variety of people can be in the same room and really support one another. That was the first time I'd ever experienced that, right? Because I had come from the beauty industry where every time I went to a class or a workshop, it was always all hairdressers, everyone in the industry. We didn't have people from outside businesses in there talking about how they marketed their business or what they were doing. So I stayed in a bubble for almost 20 years. And this is the first time I was exposed to how different people approach things and how different people handle different situations. So it was so cool to learn. And it's why, this group being so diverse, we have an attorney, we have an events coordinator, we have someone who's ran massive events and has had a large scale podcast. We have people who have been in corporate, and a couple that are looking to create a business, but they don't want to burn the boats. They're trying to navigate what it's going to look like to move into a full-blown entrepreneur. And so they all have a lot of personal value to add. And it's why I vet every single person that comes into this mastermind, because I want to make sure you guys are an equal energetic exchange for one another, versus if someone's got really low energy and they're not someone who's willing to hold space and mastermind. Because truly, if you're looking for just someone to tell you what to do and someone to guide you specifically, next step, that's where a coach comes in. And I also offer that. That's where I do my one-to-one, where we do a lot of one-to-one work. We deep dive into some subconscious reprogramming. We talk about a lot of the things that have held you back in the past, right? We've all gone through shit. It's why we now react and behave the way we do. There's no harm, no foul, but there's ways to combat that and get through it, take action, and get you to where you want to go. It's then I feel like once you work one-on-one, then you're ready for the mastermind. You've got something to bring to the table. You're willing to not only receive, but you've got a lot to give because you've cleared your energy and you're now in a higher energetic frequency that you can hold space for other people and be a peer and contribute to the group. That's truly what makes a mastermind successful, is when everyone's pouring in and everyone's giving just as much as they're expecting to receive. And so if you've ever joined a mastermind and you felt like you didn't, quote, get what you deserved or you didn't get what you thought, I challenge you to ask yourself, how were you showing up to contribute? Often I'll go into a room with no want, no ask, no nothing, and just how can I serve? How can I give? How can I be high vibe energy? And eventually once everyone else shares their shit, they're like, oh, what about you, Jess? And then the focus is on me. They've cleared their energy. So put that in your back pocket. They've gotten their opportunity to talk. So now I'm not sitting with people where they're waiting to talk. I've learned patience, and I've learned that you learn more by listening than you do by talking. And so that's what I do. That is my main focus when I get into it, whether it's a room, a one-day event, a workshop, a class, somebody else's mastermind, and even mine. I listen. I sure as fuck do a lot of talking in mine too, I'll tell you that. But I definitely listen more than I talk. And it's what has gotten me so many nuggets of knowledge that I've been able to use and utilize throughout the last 5 years to grow up my book of business, my one-on-one clients, to release the pressure and the need to do anything that I'm doing like anybody else. If I see somebody doing something that I love in a way that I love, I put that in my back pocket. I always wanted to start my own hair care line. And I thought, how will I ever formulate anything? I'm not a formulator. How will I ever put together the best product line? And I'm like, well, you've used so many different lines. Why don't you just choose all of your favorite products from the different lines, take those to the formulator and say, hey, I want this conditioner, this shampoo, this detangler, this hairspray. That's going to be my line. A mastermind and your own unique services that you provide are going to be a combination of everything you've experienced, everything you've learned, and then you're going to teach it and you're going to put it out in your own unique way. Whether you become a coach, a speaker, whether you offer a product or a service, we usually take an experience that we had that we loved and we recreate it in some form or fashion, or there's something missing. And so we have to create that. That's how businesses are born, products are made, and people are becoming so successful because they're taking something that they see could be better and making it their own. So I hope today's episode was helpful. I know that often when we're seeing all the glitz of, oh, everyone's starting a podcast, I need a podcast. Everyone's joining masterminds, I should join one, but I'm not really sure like what I'm going to get out of it or how I like participate. So I was like, I need to make an episode that is like all about what I wish I knew before I started. And I think I'll leave you with this. What I also wish I knew was that I didn't need everything everybody was selling right from the beginning. And I also wish I knew that I would have been much better off if I learned a majority of the things myself versus trying to hire all of the different things I needed out in the beginning. I wish I would have taken more ownership over little things like learning the back ends of my website, figuring out how to make adjustments on certain things myself, figuring out how to edit my own podcast when I launched that, figuring out how to properly write my own emails or create a blog, all of that stuff. I wish I would have done because I would have had SOPs put in place, right? Standard operating procedures for when I hired somebody to take over that. So I had more creative freedom to create good content, to create value, to actually run the masterminds, to actually show up in the best energy to, teach and coach rather than being stuck in the weeds of my business. But instead, I shopped everything out. I spent tens of thousands of dollars hiring people for things I didn't even quite know how to do, expecting and hoping that they would know what to do, even though they didn't have a successful business like I wanted. So put that last one in your back pocket when you're thinking about hiring. But that's the power of getting in these networking/mastermind groups, because it's really not just networking. It's a little bit of networking, but it's masterminding with each other. The group is meant to start with each individual goals in mind, and then create that action plan to hold each other not only accountable, but to work on each other's businesses and help each other push through the challenges that are coming up. And that's why the container is about 5 months, because quick masterminds are tough, but we do have a one day. If you want to come get a taste of what these are like, we have a one day, June 6th in Scottsdale. I'm hosting a one day mastermind retreat. And all of the women that are in my current mastermind will be there. Their retreat is a couple days before. They're going to stay for the one day and be included in that. So that's open to the public. If you've never been a part of a mastermind, if you've never been to a retreat, if you've never been to a high-level workshop, this is going to be a really cool place for you to get to jump in. No expectations. You don't have to have a business already. But if you have something that you want to work on, you're going to get even more out of it because we've got some incredible speakers. a lot of good time to connect and network with one another, and then some really good curated downtime to get to connect back in, to listen to yourself, to what is it that you really want? Not what you think you need, but what do you actually want? How do you want to be feeling? How do you want to be operating? What kind of business do you really want to be running? What kind of life do you really want to be living? We're going to get into it. It's going to be so amazing. So I hope to see you there. If you've never been to one, you have questions, just DM me on Instagram. Let me know what your questions are, and I will definitely try to answer everybody back. And if you are just like, hell yes, this is exactly what I need, I'm so glad you created this, scroll down below in the show notes. There's a link. You can grab your ticket. I know this will sell out because we only have a certain amount of space. So I'm excited for whoever's going to join. If you're interested in the next round of Unscripted, the Mastermind, that will kick off in July. I'll have more details to come. You can always reach out to me on social media. Send me a DM. Let me know your thoughts. If you want to book a call, you can schedule that below. It's a free 15-minute call. We can jump on, see where you're at, ask me your big questions, and I'll hopefully direct you the best I can. If it's not me that can help you, I will definitely share my network with you. I'm always the plug for so many people. Hey, Jess, how do I do this? Hey, Jess, where do I go for this? So just know I got you. If these episodes are hitting home and you're feeling this, just let me know. Send me a DM. Post it on social media. Send it to somebody if you want to invite them to the retreat. But hopefully these are some good back pocket questions for if and when you join a mastermind, or if you ever wanted to create one for yourself. So always sending you so much love. You got this. Happy weekend.